The following is rated F for fairness. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Welcome to the audio
Friends,
show.
we're going to do a timeline check. We're going to see exactly, did this relationship with Dave happen before the filing or after the filing? I mean, I've been asked a question right now and I'm being challenged with the question. Nonetheless, I feel like I want to answer it. Before I get there though, I think that these two things are honorable for me to mention. Okay? How does the court look at an eyewitness? Does an eyewitness need to actually see sexual contact to prove infidelity in Georgia? The answer to that question is just like you can see on your screen, no. An eyewitness does not need to see the actual sexual act to prove infidelity. Georgia allows adultery to be proven entirely through circumstantial evidence. Proof it establishes two things: inclination to commit adultery and the opportunity to do so. Now, let's also remember that Melissa is Dave's assistant, which means that she sees a lot of personal things that Dave has going on. So in other words, make sure you're looking into that when we look in our little timelines, all right? That's one thing. The next thing I want to look at is if I help someone to hide money in Georgia, right? And this is before divorce happens, can I be charged? And the answer is yes, you can be charged and face several legal consequences in Georgia if you knowingly help someone to hide, transfer, or conceal marital assets to keep them out of a divorce settlement. You could be implicated in criminal fraud, conspiracy, or as a co-conspirator to perjury. Now, why this is integral? Because again, that's why I said that the Daniel, Michelle, and Melissa, those three people are very, very integral. Because of course, Ben could come into play, right? Michelle could come into play, depending on how they play the story. Nonetheless, let's get into our timeline. All right, friends. So I feel like I've become Skitland encyclopedia, right? And I guess rightfully so at this point in time. I'm a thespian, right? And I love the art of theater. I haven't practiced in a long time in terms of the art of theater, but of course, I mean, I try to entertain people on the show, right? And so, but what I also like to do is I like to when people are getting the story and they like the story and they're getting into the story, because there's nothing to me like quality and really, really good entertainment, which is exactly why I've done this in the long time. I've been challenged by Miss Grant, okay? And Miss Grant is challenging O'Neill to say, well, O'Neill, no, the whole of this relationship started after the divorce. And I said, well, Miss Grant, we're not sure, because the way how the waters look as of right now is very, very muddy. So we're not quite certain when what has happened when. Because right now they deliberately did that. Now, this is basically hindsight, because I'm just starting to see this. That, they have kind of muddied the water so that way this could actually come back and they could be able to use each piece. I'm going to take you on a trajectory and give you exactly what I'm saying, and I'm going to give you like a little thesis at the end of it. So the first thing you're seeing on your screen is when Amber just met Dave. If you look on the timeline of that, that is on the 9th of March, right? So on the 9th of March, we saw Amber meeting Dave. As I said before to you, in that particular scene, right, they played a song where they basically was showing Amber falling in love with Dave at that particular moment, right? And it was even, if you even run the clip and you go down, which I'm not going to run the clip, but if you even go to the end of the clip, you could see Melissa's face looking at the relationship, because Melissa is wondering what exactly is taking place here. This is on March 9th. But let's say this is just a one-off meeting, all right? And that this wouldn't have meant anything. Let's continue. So we go to the next day that they meet together, which is at the restaurant. There's not really much in this clip, but it's just for time stamping. This was done on the 11th of March. So on the 11th of March, there was a turnaround of all of a sudden Dave wanted to meet Amber because he tasted the pie and he loved the pie, and we thought that, she was let down. So this is just to kind of get us like an idea where we are in the entire grip of things. And that's on March 11th. Let's move to the next clip. The next clip is where we see Amber filing for a divorce. Now, talking to her lawyer. Let me rephrase this. We see where they say Amber files for a divorce. Now, here's why this is integral, right? And why this is muddy. And Miss Grant, maybe you can start to form what I'm saying from here. This is on the 15th of March, okay? Now, here's the deal on the 15th of March. Amber is talking to her attorney. Amber is signing up paperwork with her attorney. Does that mean that these papers were filed on the 15th? We don't know. We don't know. We don't know the exact date that these papers were filed. Why is this relevant? Don't worry. Stick with me inside of the entire thing. And I'm going to try to get this done as soon as possible. So we go to the next scene where we see Amber tells whatever it is that she's, she's thinking of filing for a divorce. And Dave offer her, hey, if she's sure she's done. This is on the 18th of March. If you're looking for this is on the 18th of March, where Dave is asking if she's sure. In this moment, she console Dave. There's basically her going over Dave and talking to Dave. These things started to happen. All right? Now, you have cameras in the place. You have different sort of different things. You don't know how these things will fare. All right. And I'm just kind of giving you what I'm looking at. Next mode you see is when Dave basically and Amber went downstairs. Now, this actually is a caveat. Let me actually the scene before this. The scene before this is Amber and Dave celebrating. So let me put this right here. The scene before this is Amber and Dave celebrating. Why this scene is important? Again, this is on the 29th of March. Notice Anthony has not yet been served with a divorce. And I'm going to talk into that. Anthony has not yet been served. But keep paying attention. So this scene was very, very integral. And I want you, I tried to give the audience, when this was happening, an inkling into this. And I want you to pay attention again to what you're seeing.
I guess I did that, huh? Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Of course.
I really could not have done it.
Stop right there. I even stopped the screen and I said, what is this? And people say, it's nothing at all, O'Neill. I don't know what you're looking at. It's not whatever it is. And I ask you, what was this look? What exactly was this look? What did it mean? So now you're seeing exactly what's going on. When you hear Daniel asking about the timeline and Melissa is not sure when this has happened, I'm showing you why this is muddy. This occurred on the 29th of March. Again, they have not yet served Anthony papers, and I'm going to tell you why that's important. So this is exactly what we saw with this. The next piece of this we saw was them basically walking away, and I ask again, what is this that you're seeing at the end of the scene? I'm gonna actually show the actual scene of them walking out together. O'Neill asked the question, why did they show this? Because see, Miss Grant, I want you to learn how O'Neill's brain think in theater. Everything are scenes that are placed together to give you a certain effect. Now, again, I'm not saying you cannot be right, but I'm showing you why. Be very, very cautious as to the celebrations of, hey, this happened afterward and not before. Right? And there's a reason why they're giving you lines into it. So you have to remember that. Remember that it's somebody that have a pen that is writing all of this. This is not basically us observing just actual life in itself. Sure, they try to incorporate some amount of law into it so you can learn something. But that's what makes it very, very fluid. Excuse me. After this, they went downstairs. And Dave met with Amber downstairs. And while being downstairs with Amber, he says some very integral lines. On the 29th of March, same day as the celebration, he said this.
Calls the crib. One thing missing.
And what's that?
One thing missing. What do you think that is? Well, let's go upstairs.
He said to her, one thing that is missing. She looks, he looks, she asks, what is that? But he refused to state exactly what it is. This, again, is on the 29th of March. And I ask you, did you hear these lines? Some people did, some people didn't. Because O'Neill tries to give you the little pieces of the story. The final clip we have is Anthony being served. We don't even need to play the clip. This happened on the 30th of March. Now, why the timelines are relevant, Miss Grant, and I want you to pay attention to this. Even if Amber met her lawyer today, it doesn't necessarily mean that the lawyer went inside the courts and filed the paperwork today. It does not mean that. It doesn't mean that. So the truth of the matter is you don't know which, unless you know this and unless you have a clip that you can show of the lawyer actually filing for a divorce I'm giving you how the writers have put themselves in a position where they can go any which way with the story. I want you to understand writing. That's how writing works. If the writing is too closed, then we would be able to figure out every single solid story. And guess what? There would be no mystery or suspense in the story in itself. The writers have deliberately done this because now they want to make it muddy, which is why I keep saying we don't know. Now, if you have a clip of Amber's lawyer going into the court and actually fighting for the divorce, then hey, you have evidence and you have fact. But I'm just trying to give you why it's kind of murky at this point in time. Truth be told, Amber's lawyer could have filed the paperwork at the courts on this particular day. You can file it on the same day and go serve it on the same day. How does O'Neill know this? Because O'Neill has been in the court to file a paperwork one day and go find the next person the same day and actually serve them the paperwork. So I know that this is how these things work. Once you get that paperwork filed, it can be served the same day. So you don't really know when this has happened. And this is why I've been trying to caution you with saying you don't know the exact time, which is why Melissa becomes very important. I hope this helps you. I hope this gives you something to kind of think with. You know, I know you're a very what you call no practical thinker. I know that you're very technical, but I want you to look at the technicalities of it, and I want you to understand the writing as to how they're writing it. It's not clear cut, and this is exactly why it's not clear cut. Because you don't know the exact day the filing has occurred. We just know it's murky because there's a lot of things happening within this particular timeline. And they've deliberately done this to us. Deliberately, because they do this all the time. They deliberately do this because they wanted to ensure that they could go anywhere at all with the story. Well, friends, that comes to the end of my presentation. I hope that you like this. Hopefully, this can help some people to have better inklings into the story. Of course, this is great content. We love what Kountry Wayne is actually doing. Friends, like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm going to talk to y'all soon.